Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the Knights of the Bloodkeep are riding out against the forces of Bretonnia. I am leading the forces of the Vampire Counts today, and Gilles le Breton is leading the forces of Bretonnia. Today, we have a matchup from the Blind Man's Cup. So each of these builds were pre-selected, so it isn't built specifically against any faction. And for the Vampire Counts today, we have Vlad von Karstein leading the way with a line of Graveguard, Skeleton Warriors, Graveguard with great weapons, and the Sternsmen, as well as a line of zombies as the front line. Then we have a couple units of Blood Knights, 2 White Kings on horseback with Scabswraith, as well as a Black Coach and a couple Fell Bats in the air. As for the forces of Bretonnia, we have a line of knights. We have the Champions of Quenelles, we have 2 units of Grail Knights, and we have Royal Hippogriff Knights in the air. And these forces are led by the Fey Enchantress. She has the Blessing and Miss of the Lady, providing a nice Mortis Engine effect, also protected by 2 Paladins with their Guardian ability. We have a lineup of Peasant Bowmen. We have a couple Pox arrows and 3 Pox and 2 fire arrows, as well as just a front line of peasant mobs, 5 of those. Let's get this show on the way. So, the Knights of the Bloodkeep are riding out. Now, the Black Coach in this particular matchup isn't really that useful. It's mostly used for kind of an anti-armor, so it'd be better against like kind of a dwarven build or something like that. It's not really going to have play to its greatest ability. But we have a charge coming in from the Champions of Quenelles, and the Blood Knights come in with a quick counter charge. And now the White Kings and the Black Coach are actually trying to screen out the other 2 units of Knights to keep them from being able to get their charges in onto the Blood Knights. So it's a very good kind of block off there. But so the initial charge from the Champions of Quenelles, they took some fairly good damage. But now the cav engagement is underway. Scabswraith going down, doing very good damage against 1 unit of archers, and now the front line are starting to engage as well. As the Royal Hippogriff Knights have engaged the Blood Knights, and the Blood Knights are now pulling out as the rest of the Bretonnian cavalry are engaged. Now Vlad is getting into the thick of it, flanked by the Sternsmen. Now the Fey Enchantress is getting into this, getting her Mortis Engine effect on the area. Looks like an Invocation of Hex going down on one of the White Kings. But yes, you can see that Mortis Engine effect is affecting kind of all of the knights in the area. Though it looks like one of the White Kings is trying to get on her, but she has a very good physical resist. But now the frontline engagement is not going the way of Bretonnia. It's just pretty much peasant mobs here, so the Grave Guard are just mopping up those front lines as they are routing across the board and starting to get into the bowmen. Now the frontline engagement looks like the Fey Enchantress is now getting attacked by both of the White Kings, and she is taking some pretty good damage despite her physical resist and being flanked by the 2 Paladins who also have Guardian ability. But now, yes, the Royal Hippogriff Knights are getting a recharge off onto the Blood Knights, so that one Blood Knights is taking some good damage. It is probably going to be crumbling very, very soon, and it'll be probably off the board. But the Fey Enchantress is also routing. That is not good for Bretonnia, losing that Mortis Engine effect, and the healing that she has would be very, very bad, and she is shattered, so that is the end of the healing for Bretonnia. And with her gone, that is not going to do well, though the Blood Knights seem to have been sacrificed in return, so both of the Blood Knights looks like they will be crumbling away. Scabswraith going through the Royal Hippogriff Knights, not going to be doing a whole lot of damage to them, but it looks like the entire front line of Bretonnia is running from the hills. The undead are chasing them as the Royal Hippogriff Knights kind of pull out and try and maybe go off and try and salvage some of their front line, keep those archers alive for the most part. But now the Grail Knights are coming in, trying to get a charge in, because now the cavalry for the Vampire Counts is now completely gone. I mean, you still have the 2 White Kings who are at full health, and they are on horseback, so they will have some pretty good mobility. But now that they are engaged in with the Paladins, and the Paladins are now already critically low. They are surrounded by zombie summons, the Sternsmen as well. So these Grail Knights are going to try and, hopefully try and save them. But both of the Paladins are now routing. It's now the Royal Hippogriff Knights charge into the mass. And the rest of the forces, it looks like Bretonnia has started kind of coming back, but the Fellbats are kind of coming in, trying to hopefully push them off. Looks like they were forgotten initially. But yeah, the Paladins are still stuck into the midst of this blob, and they are getting dragged down a little bit, though it looks like they are starting to push out. Though Vlad's trying to nip at the heels of one of them, as now the White Kings are pushing off the Royal Hippogriff Knights. As you can see, the Fellbats are now getting on top of the archers, making them rout, so the Fellbats are jumping from unit to unit, keeping them from firing and keeping them routing, and hopefully push them off the field. So, looks like one of the Grave Guards with great weapons are wavering, but they are just against some peasant bowmen, though it looks like the Grail Knights have, and looks like Gilles the Breton has conceded, and that will be our match. So, looking at the after-battle report, the Grave Guard actually did fairly good work. I mean, of course, they were just engaged with kind of peasants and stuff. The Sternsmen were engaged with kind of the rest of the Cav engagement, kind of providing a little bit of HP buffer. That Black Coach, as I said before, this is not their matchup to really use this particular unit. There's nothing that it can really benefit from, and it doesn't really do that well in a Cav engagement. It's mostly used to be kind of going through infantry lines, doing good damage there. But those White Kings really doing a number on the Fey Enchantress, as well as the 2 Paladins. I think despite the low kill count, they really did a very high amount of damage on the 3 Lords and Heroes of Bretonnia. But that is another match in the books. Thank you all for watching, and have a good one.